On this week's GTA 6 o'clock, a special extended interview from our 100th episode. Hello and welcome to episode 103 of GTA 6 o'clock, the world's most in-depth and the best connected GTA 6 show. I am your host, James JJ Jarvis, and this is Dan DD Dawkins. Merry Christmas Eve, Dan.
Merry Christmas to you. To celebrate, I've worn the same clothes 2 weeks in a row.
It's a great day. Today is December the 24th, and today is the day, people. The Christmas screenshots are here. But it's Christmas, so we're not actually in the studio today to analyze those, so those we're going to have to wait for a little bit. I'm going to look pretty silly if Rockstar haven't released them, so...
Or really cool if they have.
You know what to do, Rockstar. Make me look really cool. We'll bring you our first thoughts of those screenshots on X and potentially in the newsletter, but let's see how many we get and how big situation it is. You're shaking your head, not in the newsletter, just on X. You can follow us at GTA BOclock. But today, we have an extended interview with one of our guests from episode 100. We have some great chats with everyone in that show, so we thought it would be nice as a little Christmas gift to release them in full for you to enjoy. So here is me talking to YouTube content creator Sav. Yep, right now I am joined by Sav. Thank you very much, Sav, for giving us your time and being part of episode 100 of GTA 6 o'clock. Welcome to the show.
Awesome, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you've been doing a lot of roundtables recently, talking to a lot of creators in the GTA and Rockstar space. Do you just want to give anyone who hasn't found you yet a shout out for your channel and the kind of stuff that they can find and where they can find you?
Yeah, man. Just at It's Savvy on YouTube. We do a lot of GTA 6 content. Been talking to a lot of other creators. We've done, I think, 4 roundtables now. We just recorded this last one yesterday evening. So it's been a lot of fun getting to know everybody. I've made a lot of friends with some of these other creators, and it's just been a blast talking about this game that we all love so much. So it's been a lot of fun. Ready for more, content to actually discuss. I'm sure we all are, but
yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a second. One of the standout videos on your channel is going through like a really deep dive into everything you need to know about GTA 6. And there's a section in there that I thought was good for us to talk about right now on episode 100, which is the patents, or patents, depending on where you're from in the world, that Rockstar and Take-Two have filed, which we believe, as a collective, I feel, are related to GTA 6. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on some of those and what you think are the most important ones or the most, let's say, game-changing ones that might be implemented for GTA 6.
Yeah, well, there's so many to choose from, and, we're kind of crossing our fingers and toes and hoping that these patents actually apply to GTA 6 and not, NBA 2K26 or something like that. But, the ones that I find the most interesting have to do with NPCs and the variations with NPCs. So specifically, it was hard to kind of narrow it down to one, but I think 2 of them work really well together, and that was the NPC locomotion. And then also the NPC variation, which is also kind of tied in with what everybody's discussing is the interior or the AI interior generated, or AI AI generated interiors. Gosh, couldn't get that one out. So a lot of people are kind of talking about that, but what's really interesting about the generated interiors patent is it has a tagging system, that applies to NPCs. So you're going to get really varied NPCs, and then with the NPC locomotion system giving you really natural dynamic movement of these NPCs, and it works off a similar system. To me, that kind of says like it's going to be really hard for us to find 2 NPCs that look alike or sound alike or walk alike, so it's going to give us a really dynamic and vibrant world with lots of unique characters, which is, really exciting.
Yeah, and a good point. Because we've debated on the show before about there are some similar looking, maybe not exactly the same, but similar looking character models in trailer 1 and trailer 2. And if this technology is in place, that would imply that is intentional rather than like a repetition of NPCs, which we've seen in GTA 5 once you get into the main game. But with this in place, we're thinking, I mean, I'm sure there will be some repetition in some way, in the way
Of
that
course.
a lot
Yeah.
of people look the same, and if you travel around the world enough, you might find someone that looks a bit like you.
Yeah.
But anything you see in trailers that, like, if people are looking very similar, we would go for that. That's intentional rather than it's a mistake.
Yeah, yeah, and from what I'm gathering, they're going to have different like face models, arm models, leg models, body models, and so you may get the same face on two different NPCs, but completely different like body models and clothing and all of that. So to me, I just found that really interesting. And then when you kind of combine that with the locomotion pattern that I was talking about earlier, it means that from what I understand, each NPC is going to have their own sort of dynamic movement under each certain umbrellas. So, like drunk Bob, happy Bob, sad Bob, you know what I mean? Like, so that'll kind of dictate how they move. And then the environment will also play a factor in that too. So that's what's most exciting to me. I mean, there's a lot to choose from with patents, but I'm really excited for like an immersive, dynamic world.
And I think I'm right in saying, I might be misremembering this, but there's also a tagging system in there, like you mentioned, but a tagging system where you can confine NPCs to a specific area.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're at the beach, they can generate all of the random beach NPCs, and then if you're in like a hipster area, they can generate a lot more, hipster type looking people, for want of a better word, which will give the world, and make it feel a lot more like there are different sections and different places, and you see different people where you go. That's right, yeah?
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct, and that's part of it too. And it's a lot of people tend to, when they talk about this patent, they tend to talk about like the AI the AI generated interiors. I'll get it one of these times. But I mean, and that is interesting, and people want to talk about interiors a lot, but there's a lot to that patent. It's very long, and there's a lot of information that comes along with it. And yes, as far as like placing certain NPC types in certain areas that make sense for them to be there is a huge part of that patent. So
awesome. Yeah, super looking forward to seeing how that all gets put into the game. You mentioned at the very top of that there are lots of side characters and other NPCs. Obviously, we've seen some of the main ones of those being revealed on Rockstar's website, along with trailer 2, when we got the 70 odd screenshots of everyone. I'm interested in, obviously, we know about Jason and Lucia being the main characters, but are there any of the side characters, let's call them for now, that have been revealed that you want to know more about? Is there any that particularly interest you at this point?
Absolutely, yeah. So of the characters that have been revealed, so to speak, I'm really interested in Brian. I don't know if it's Brian Heater or Brian Heder. I don't know how you pronounce his last name, but I'm really interested in. Yeah, yeah. But his whole storyline it looks really interesting to me. I mean, you're talking about a guy that owns like a marina and boat repair shop in the Keys. He's heavily involved in some kind of like drug smuggling operation. Lord knows like what kind of enemies he has. And, it seems like he's voiced by the guy from The Office. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. But that all lends itself to a really interesting, sort of character arc, and I'm really excited to kind of learn more about him. As for characters that they haven't really elaborated on, I mean, I think I'm just as curious as everybody else about this mysterious police officer or undercover guy that they keep showing in trailer 2. That guy, we don't know anything about him, but I don't know if you've seen the movie Training Day with Denzel Washington.
Yeah.
He gives me like him and his crew give me those kind of vibes, like dirty cops, looking to kind of get a score on the side. That's the kind of vibe I'm getting from those guys. I could be totally wrong about that. But those are the two I think I'm most curious about.
I was going to touch on this in a second when we talk about Jason and Lucia, but do you think, because there was all of those conversations around before we knew a lot more about the game, that there was going to be some kind of undercover cop in the game, possibly? Do you think now that has evolved into this character that we're seeing, and that's sort of the cop role that we were hearing about, or do you still think it could be either Jason or Lucia?
It's possible. So, like, undercover cop culture runs deep in like Miami history and entertainment. So, you have like the Bad Boys films and Miami PD and like the Vice movies and like all that stuff. And to me, for them to have like some kind of undercover cop, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent, I think that would be pivotal to the kind of story that they're trying to tell with this. Seems like Lucia's kind of dragging Jason through this troubled times to get to the other side of the life that she's wanting. So they're bound to have some interactions with, cops and undercovers and all that. So I don't know exactly, what it's going to turn out to be, but I can say with I get a lot of questions a lot. Do you think Jason is an undercover cop?
Yeah.
That one drives me nuts. I personally, I don't think Jason is an undercover cop. I don't think there's any grounds for that. And it'd be really difficult for Rockstar to tell a story where we're like literally going around and, shooting people and robbing people and all that. And as an undercover cop, there's only so many things you can kind of get away with as an undercover.
Yeah, exactly. Unless you're in a Fast and Furious movie and then you're allowed to do what you want.
Right. Yeah. Very true.
So I wanted to quickly go back to Brian then, as one of the people you want to know more about. Do you feel, because we've discussed him on the show before, as a character that is probably going to be there from the beginning, or at least around, the early game, do you think he's going to be involved in the whole story, or will it be one of those characters sort of transitions out in between Act 2 and 3 once you start, as we assume, rising up the criminality and doing bigger and badder things? Like, he might fall away and just be like, all I want to do is this small-time drug running business, and I'm quite happy with that. I don't want to go off robbing banks or doing whatever the big heists are.
Yeah, so for me, it would make sense that Brian's going to be involved throughout most of the story. It sounds like, Jason and Brian kind of have a history, and it would make sense to me based on what we saw in the trailer. It looked like Brian was kind of telling Jason and Lucia, like, yeah, they know where you're at, or they're on to you, like that whole thing in trailer 2. And that struck me as more of like a mid-story bit than a early story bit. Early story, he's probably going around to some of these shops and, being the bruiser walking in and you're extorting these people for money under Brian's requests. And then probably as we get more towards the middle of the story, they're asking for Brian's help with his connections to try and hide from whoever, stay in a safe house or something like that. Late story, I mean, they could go any direction that they want. I say on my stream all the time that Rockstar does what it do, and they can kind of do anything they want as far as the story goes. So it's anybody's guess as to how this ends and if Brian's a part of that ending or not. But I will say, shout out McTannen. He had an interesting bit that he was talking about on his stream where he thought that Brian might be a guy, towards the end of the story that maybe like turns on you and snitches, to kind of. It's in to his point, he was saying, in order to run a business like that, you almost have to kind of be an informant to stay alive, and to keep doing your thing. So maybe he's feeding certain people to the feds, and maybe that's part of the story. I don't know. I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Loads of different directions they can go in there with that. And hopefully we'll start learning about what that is sooner rather than later. Okay, well, let's move on to a couple of other things we've been chatting about with some other people. These are more general things and probably things that you've answered a lot on some of your streams and other YouTube videos. But as of this point, how accurate do you think the current representation of the map is via the mapping project?
Well, so this is an area I know a little bit less about than some other creators, but I will say that from what I've heard, these are a collection of some of the same people that did the GTA 5 map, if I'm not mistaken, before it came out. And from what I heard, they were pretty accurate, to what we got when the game actually released. And, these guys are like measuring shadows to determine distances. You know what I mean? So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that, from what we can see and what they can actually map, I think it's going to be pretty accurate. Now, whether the map is an actual island or it's connected to a larger landmass, that's a completely different story. For me personally, I'm really curious to see what's going on with the northern part of the map. We know next to nothing about it. It's completely uncharted territory, and I'm part of me is wondering if Rockstar is doing that on purpose.
Yeah, for sure. And for my peace of mind, which side are you falling on in the theme park versus no theme park debate? Would you like to be like a Disneyland representation in there?
Yeah, I mean, at first, I got to be honest, I was a little like anti theme park because my thought process was like, you go to a theme park and what do you expect to see? Like tons of kids running around and all that. And for them to be replaced with adults, it's like, maybe not so much. But then you go to a place like Universal Orlando and it's like a lot of adults walking around. So I kind of came around to that idea. And I wouldn't say I'm like for or against it. I think if they're going to spend time and resources on doing something like that, make it meaningful and don't just, drop a couple roller coasters on the map for us to just like drive by and look at. You know what I mean? Like, so I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with it. I'm sorry, that's not the greatest answer, but I could take it or leave it at this point.
We don't know, right? So you just have to. Everyone's just speculating at this point.
Yeah,
speaking
exactly.
of which, you mentioned is the map an island or if it isn't an island.
Mm-hmm.
We have discussed on the show at length the different possibilities of how you stop people leaving if it is an island. Like now we have planes. What happens at the edge of the map? Would you prefer it to be an island or some kind of like landlocked Red Dead 2 style giant impassable mountain at one top end of the map?
Well, so my opinion on this is a little controversial. I actually prefer the idea of it being attached to a larger landmass and not be an island. And my reasoning for that is because it kind of goes back to the whole Project Americas and Bloomberg report back in 2022. They've been talking about expanding this game and expanding the map post-launch. And a good way to do that, that would be easy to do to the south. You just drop in more islands and then maybe a larger landmass, on the other side of the water. But to the north, I think you could easily drop in other cities, maybe give us like at some point, like a New Orleans or something like that. Or if they are truly planning on, branching out and creating larger cities and connecting things as like a long-term, games as a service model, it would make sense to me that it would be attached to a landmass. Now, the next question is, how do you keep people from sort of going too far? That could be done a number of ways. I'm on board with the idea of it being very similar to how it is in GTA 5, where if you fly out over the ocean too far, eventually your plane engine just kind of cuts out and you crash. You could easily make all of that land and territory north of Vice City just like swampland or farmland or sugar fields or something like that. But what it does is it allows you to sort of move the edge of the map and drop in new locations in a meaningful way, so maybe they could show us like new town under construction off in the distance and you can't quite get to it, you know what I mean, or something like that. I don't know. I just like the idea of it being connected to a larger landmass, and I wouldn't be sad if it's an island, but that's kind of my theory anyway.
Sure. Now, one of the things they could do, and this would be good to get your opinion on, is make you run out of fuel. This has been a hotly debated thing on GTA 6 o'clock about car refueling. Should it be in the game? Should it not? What is your view on it? Are you pro refueling your car or anti it?
I am staunchly pro refueling the car.
This is great.
I am. So I go way back. I've been playing Grand Theft Auto since like GTA 3. My first Grand Theft Auto I ever played was GTA 2 at my cousin's house when I was really young. But I remember having a copy of Game Informer when San Andreas was coming out. Before it actually came out, and I'm like flipping through there, like, is there any sign that we're going to be able to refuel the cars? I remember wanting it back then. So I would love to have it now. And I've heard people say, I don't want to have to worry about refueling my car. And to those people, I say, too bad, you've had it your way for a long time.
Yeah.
I want to be able to put gas in my car, like it doesn't have to be something where you're refueling your car every 5 minutes, but to me, it's like, thinking about planning ahead on a heist or something like that, making sure you have enough gas in the car for your getaway, or, you're in the middle of a police chase and all of a sudden your engine sputters and comes to a stop. Well, now you've got another thing to worry about. So I just think it could add more of a fun dynamic to the actual gameplay. And I don't think it has to be something that's super annoying or repetitive,
Yeah, and I think if it is in there, surely it's a thing that they can implement that you can turn on or off. Like if you really don't want it, I'm sure they can be like, hey, look, you can play the game without it. But if you want full immersion, you can turn it on and you can manage the fuel rates and all of that kind of thing. There's a way around it, is what I'm saying. If they put it in, it'll be
Yeah,
fun.
exactly. And, we've already got a fuel system in the game. I mean, if you shoot a gas tank on a car, you can watch the fuel come out. And you can even, I don't know if you've done this, but if you get in the car in first person mode, you can watch the gas gauge drop. So, it's already pretty much implemented. All they got to do is, give us the whole gas mechanic. So, I don't know. It wouldn't be a stretch.
Awesome. I'm glad that you're on board. I got a couple more things to throw at you. One of which is the start of the game. How do you think GTA 6 might start? Are you feeling a prologue or a flashback, immediately into a heist, or something a bit slower to do with introduction of characters?
I don't really need a prologue or a heist personally. I know a lot of people that absolutely loved the whole prologue of Red Dead Redemption 2. And, at first it was really cool and kind of getting the lay of the land and mechanics and all that. And it was such a different experience. I'm all for them kind of opening up with some cinematics. I can see a plane flying over and then the camera kind of pans down into the prison or shows the skyline after the music is playing, and then it pans down in the prison, and then we pick up watching Lucia walk through the halls or the prison yard, and then it kind of goes to that scene that we get in trailer 1 where she's talking with the counselor. And there's that whole narrative going there, and then at the same time maybe they jump over to Jason, whether he's fixing the roof on the house or something like that. To me, I think what they've shown us is indicative of probably where we're going to be starting in the game in trailer 1 and trailer 2. So I think it's going to be right around that time. I don't know exactly how they're going to do it. I've heard some people say that, if they start Lucia in prison, maybe there'll be some gameplay mechanics learned there, like how to fight or something like that. That might be interesting, but I don't think we should spend too much time there. I think people are going to want to get out and explore, and the longer Rockstar kind of holds the leash, the more frustrated people are going to get. So
yeah, it makes sense that they can do a lot of that tutorial mechanics for Lucia specifically in prison. Like you say, you could learn how to do hand-to-hand combat. They could show you, sleeping advances the time of day. And they could do if all of the training like weightlifting and sprinting things that we think are going to be in there, that can all be done in the prison yard. As you say, that's maybe good for a couple of tutorial things, but then you'd want to be out and about. Unless it changes to Jason after that, and then you don't see Lucia for a couple of hours, and then a couple of hours of gameplay, that is, a few days in game time.
And then there's the whole ankle bracelet, thing that we see her wearing, and it's maybe that's their way of keeping her and the keys early on, and maybe Jason can't venture out into Vice City without Lucia. Maybe you kind of have to go. Maybe you start driving across that bridge and you get a phone call from Lucia. She's like, "Where are you going? Turn around. I've got you on Live 360." So I don't know. It could be interesting though. I'm curious to see how they're going to do that.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's quickly move away from the game and not move away. We'll move away from the game story and talk about the physical release of the game. We have debated on the show the collector's edition and what items may or may not be in that box. Do you have anything that if you were going to get the collector's edition, you'd be like, I would like it to come with these things?
A stuffed alligator head would be cool.
Yes. Well, I wanted an inflatable alligator. I'll go stuffed alligator. That's fine.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I don't know. I mean, anything like Vice City. Somebody had mentioned on one of my live streams about doing like a bag of cocaine, a fake bag of cocaine or something, or like a stack of cash, or like Jason's hat. There's a lot of different things I think you could go with, but I trust Rockstar if they're going to do a collector's edition to do something that's really cool, and they'll probably come up with something way better than anything I've got. But those would probably be my go-tos, like maybe a stack of cash from the game, and then maybe Jason's hat or something.
Yeah, someone on our comments, I think, mentioned that in the box art you see Lucia holding that briefcase style thing that they were like, and
Yeah.
that could be a perfect collector's edition box that
Yep.
comes with a steelbook, comes with an alligator, some sunglasses, anything sort of Miami themed, I think would go down really well in that collector's edition.
Yeah, absolutely. Like a Welcome to Leonida map or something, like it's got to be, of course, the disc edition of the game will have the map. At least I hope it does. And that's a whole nother thing. Like, I'm going to be buying digital, but I'm also buying the disc because I've got to have the map, so, and then I'll probably get the collector's edition too.
So. Yeah, we're already buying that game 3 times before it's even out, I think.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, November 19th, 2026, the new date. Obviously, when we're recording this, the delay has been announced a couple of weeks ago. How do you feel about that date? Do you think this is the last date change?
I certainly hope so. I ate some crow because I was saying there's no way they're going to delay this game again, and I had like all these reasons for it, and I went even as far as to like bet my chat that it wouldn't get delayed, and if it did, I would shave my head. Well, I had to shave my head, so I was wrong. But I would be really surprised, no surprise, to see it get delayed again. I mean, I think. I said this when they did the last delay, like when you delay it 6 months, you probably only need 3. That's kind of my mindset. And I'm hoping that, the last 6 months is really just to tighten everything up. And it's hard to take like Strauss seriously when he's on these investor calls and saying some of the things that he says, because a lot of it is just CEO speak and all that. But for me, listening to that and him mentioning like other games that have launched specific, well, he didn't name them, but we all know he's talking about Cyberpunk 2077. For them to launch that game, and then I was talking with somebody on a roundtable, and they said, I never even went back and played Cyberpunk 2077, even though it's been fixed and it's like great now because like all the hype is over and they missed their chance. And I think that's the kind of situation they're looking to avoid. I don't think you can put those two games in the same sort of market. I think they're two completely different animals, and Grand Theft Auto is like way, way higher on the tier system. But I do feel like this is going to be the final date. I don't think they're going to push it again. A holiday season release makes way more sense to me than like a summer release anyway. I was just kind of hoping that we were going to get it. I know MCT said that this was probably the plan all along, but I don't know, man. Rockstar does what it do.
Yeah. And for the record, I was in very much the same camp as you. I was like, I feel pretty good about this date, before they delayed it. I was like, there's so many reasons why that March date made sense. Like it's the anniversary of Bonnie and Clyde's funerals. It syncs up with a load of other stuff. And it's like, I feel like they were at some point targeting that date. And for some reason it has now slipped.
Yeah. Who knows exactly what it is? Part of me was wondering if the firings had anything to do with it. And the only thing that would say to me is like maybe they're wanting to push it back because one, they get more time to polish, and 2, they get into a better like marketing window. They don't have all this negativity to deal with. So I don't know.
Well, what they do need to do is show us a bit more content.
Yeah.
So my final piece to discuss with you is, when do you think we'll get the next piece of GTA 6 content, and what is that going to be? Will it be a trailer? Is it just going to be screenshots?
I can see them. Part of me wants to say we're not getting anything till May, in that 6 month, before November. But then, the other part of me is like, man, I don't think they could do us that dirty, pushing us back another 6 months and then making us wait, almost 6 months to get anything else. So, I think we'll probably get something in like February, March, April, somewhere in that time frame. It's probably going to be some screenshots sprinkled in. Maybe we get like a handful of screenshots in February, maybe a handful in March, maybe a handful in April. And then probably as we get closer to like, April, May, then they drop trailer 3. But I don't know. I've been wrong at so many different turns with all of this, so it's hard for me to even speculate on any of that. But that's what would make sense to me based on Rockstar's history and kind of what they do.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm holding out for Christmas screenshots this year. Didn't get them last year. It's the perfect time. Christmas Day, I think it is when they normally release them, or Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Just a couple, just 2 or 3 nice Christmas screenshots, and then nothing till, I think, like you say, I think you're right, February, March time would be actual content. But I'd like just, 4 more screenshots of Christmas will be enough.
Yeah, give us something, Rockstar. Come on. We're dying out here.
In terms of the trailer, do you think, I don't feel we're getting like character trailers like Franklin, Michael, Trevor style things for Jason and Lucia. I think the next one will be more story focused or world focused.
Yeah.
Love to hear your thoughts on what that trailer 3 could be.
Yeah, I think trailer 3 is probably going to be a combination of what we've gotten with trailer 1 and 2, but with a little more world stuff in there. I think they'll probably show us like the local car wash, or, the mountains and some skyline views, and, maybe some ocean activities. It'd be really nice to see some more water activities, maybe see some people fishing or scuba diving. I'd really love to. I know they've been guarding that like like Fort Knox, but I would love to see what's going on under the waves. You know what I mean? I'm really looking forward to that. So that's my guess. I think trailer 3 is going to be, a little more story stuff with some, world building, map areas, locations, that kind of stuff sprinkled in.
Awesome. Well, Sav, thank you so much for joining us on this episode 100 of GTA 6 O'Clock. Before you go, have you got anything else you want to talk about? Anything you want to throw at us?
No, man, I really appreciate you guys having me on. I think you guys are killing it. You're doing some awesome stuff over there. I'd love to have you on a roundtable at some point if you guys get some time free on your schedule. But other than that, man, just keep doing what you're doing. It's awesome to watch. I love engaging with your content.